you can go in and you can look up, okay, here's a list of the things I bought, so I know how to categorize this and split out this transaction, right? But they are super hidden. At Amazon especially, it's like 10 clicks deep to find your transaction history. So anyways, if you click on Payee there, Ernie will show you, and just click on the little information button. There you go. Amazon.com order history. It'll bring it up, and you can actually just look at the list of items that you bought that makes up that amount.
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it, how you
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Friends, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're talking about some hidden features in YNAB. They are right there in plain sight, Ben.
Yeah.
And we're going to show YNABers where to find those. And I thought we would do something like this because a couple episodes ago, we were talking about our favorite features. And I don't know about you, but like as I was going through the app, web, and mobile, trying to figure out which my favorite ones are in 2026, I'm like, oh my goodness, there are so many like little things here and there. Some of them are new. Some of them have been around for years. And I'm like, I think we just need to talk about these, unearth them, because I'm always shocked as to how some of these features just kind of get covered up over time.
Yeah, it's funny because you're like a person who's been using it for a really long time. You know, you might use them, but like you can almost forget about some of them. You know,
True.
Over the years, so you might be surprised. You might not know about some of these, and we want to talk about a couple new ones too. So this is gonna be a nerdy episode. We have 16 on our list here that we're gonna talk about. So we have to like keep it to 2 or 3 minutes each.
We had the pre-meeting
where Ernie's like, all right, Ben, you can't yap about this for too long. So anyways, we're going to try to keep it tight.
It's going to be a very visual episode. We'll try our best to talk through everything for the audio only folks. But if you want to see this in action, I've got my test plans. They're up and running. So pretty much every single feature, I'm going to be showing you how to do it on either the web or the mobile.
Yeah, Ernie's recording a screen in real time. Like usually we record something after and add it, but he's doing it like live. He's doing it while we talk. So this will be fun.
All right. Hidden feature number 1, and this is a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Income versus expense report on mobile.
Yeah, this is much requested because it's the only one that was on web that's not on mobile yet, right?
Yeah. And so to get to that, I'm just going to, over here on the far right, and I'm on an iPhone here. I assume this layout is the same on Android.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
So I'm going to tap on that reflect tab, and there it is, income versus spending. Now, I can't drill into this. It's just a really quick visual of the last 6 months. Yeah. So I think of it as like one of those, hey, just give me that quick peace of mind about what's going on. You know,
exactly.
Sometimes you go through the month and you just have that feeling of like, I kind of feel like I'm bleeding money this month, or maybe like I'm not spending at all. You can just look at that income versus spending, get that really quick glance without needing to dig into all the nitty-gritty details if you don't want to.
Yeah, I think if this is kind of like a gut check, you know, like
gut check. Yeah, I like that.
How are things? And if you really want to get into the details, you could hop over to web. But you know, it might get more detailed later. But right now, it's kind of a quick gut check. So, and it's pretty. I
love it.
It's just nice. Yeah, I love the colors. I love the way it looks. And yeah, it's funny right now. My I think it's December is like. It's like a huge bar because I bought that car.
Yeah. Well, this isn't my plan. This is just a test dummy.
This one's pretty steady, right?
But
right.
I was looking at my personal income versus spending on mobile, and it was in the fall. There was just this massive spike, and I was like, oh, that's when we got the new roof from the hail damage that we had earlier that spring. So.
And it's kind of fun to see that, like, that's reality, you know, that's what it looks like. And I also I don't want people my one fear I have with this is like people will get fixated on it, kind of like how people would get fixated on like Age of Money and things like that
Right.
sometimes. Like if there's sometimes there's a very good reason why your spending might be higher than your income over the past 6 months, and that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean there's something horribly wrong. So I do think that's something that you need to just reflect on, but it is kind of nice to have a gut check there.
Oh, and YNAB's telling you that right at the top, or at least for this plan, on average, you're spending less than you make. Okay. Whew.
Yeah. And then it'll also say on average you're spending about as much as you make if it's about the same. I think it's within 5%. It'll say it's about the same. So that's kind of fun. All right. I'm already yapping too much. Why don't we move on? Okay, another new feature. It actually hasn't come out yet for us who are talking in the past, but we're not releasing this episode until this new feature comes out. Much requested for a very long time, adding photos to transactions. Let's just take a minute.
Woohoo!
This is a big deal because anything you can do to just add more information to your transactions, to your plan. I think of this like that second brain thing we talked about a couple episodes ago, the getting things done vibe, where you're adding information to YNAB that you can look at later without having, so that way you don't have to think about it, right? So receipts are pretty obvious.
That's the first thing that came to my mind, receipts.
Yeah, receipts are obvious. Like you could do this, for example, like you could just create like a dummy transaction, like don't even put in the amount or anything, and like just add the receipt, and that way later you can look at it and you could split the transaction based on the receipt. I'm excited about doing that because I hate keeping receipts around.
Totally.
You can just chuck that right in the trash, and but you just take a little picture, or
warranties.
Maybe warranty is the perfect example. Menards rebates. You get a little picture of whatever they give you. Do they give you a physical thing? How does that work?
Okay. Well, let's get into this. I'm really happy. That makes me happy that you remember this whole Menards situation. So yeah, it's you get a receipt, and then you have to cut off the bottom of that receipt and send in the rebate form.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always the problem with that is like, you're like, how much did I request back? Because every time I get my rebate check, I'm like, is this right? Did they completely rip me off? Which I always assume they do. But you could take a picture of that total amount and then look at that later on when it actually arrives.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so there's just like, I'm really curious to see how the community is going to use this, because there's a million different things. It could even be just like just snap a photo of like a memory there. You know what I mean? Like I did this when we had it in beta. Man, this has gone through many iterations. The team's been working on this since like well into last year. And we had it in beta for a little while. And I remember I went to my daughter's, she was doing a play. She was doing Into the Woods. And I walked in there and I got some concessions, and I added the transaction for the concessions. And I just like looked up, and the setting, like the set they did was just awesome. Like it was so good. I wish the play itself was that good, but it was a middle school play, No, it was good. But the set was just gorgeous. So I just like snapped a little photo of the set and attached it to that transaction. So like if I ever look it up again, I can see that, and it was kind of nice to put that into YNAB. So I mean, it could be anything you want. It could be like a practical thing, or it could even be like a little memory, but there's a lot of use cases for this, and I think it's going to be really cool to see how people use it.
I found myself using it on vacation this past summer.
Oh yeah,
because that's the time where you're creating all these memories, and you're going to these special restaurants. Or I did some golfing on vacation. I'm like, hey, I just want to capture a picture of this, because when I go back and look at old transactions, usually it's from experiences, it's vacations, it's trips, family experiences like that. So I was just experimenting, throwing some photos on there, and I liked it.
Yeah. So it can be anything. But yeah, I'm sure you guys can think of just a million other things. So I think we're releasing a blog where we like put out a ton of ideas of how you can use this. And I'm sure the community will come up with even more. So it's coming soon.
Hidden feature number 3, hide amounts. So one thing we know, YNABers, they are obsessed, right? You're obsessed, Ben. I'm obsessed with the app, and it's fun to talk to other people about it. Now, most of the time when we're talking to people, right, their eyes just kind of gloss over and roll to the back of their head. But every so often you get that person that's like a little bit interested. They're ready, right? They're a little bit interested, and you just want to show them your plan. But that can be a little awkward. So we have this hide amounts feature where turn it on and boom, it covers up all your numbers. And so let's see, I think you can do this. I think you need to be on the home tab. Let me go plan tab.
Yeah, hide amounts right there.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's on the home. It's on the plan tab. 3 dots, hide amounts, and then everything, you got those dots over it.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
You can give a vibe and just say, hey, pretend like there's numbers here, and you can just show them. So, and that way you don't have to. And or you could, like, if you want to share something in the communities on social media or something, but you don't want everybody to see your numbers, you can do that too. So it's nice. It adds a lot for sure. Okay, this one's real nerdy. The selected total option. Okay, this is on both web and mobile. If you're going through transactions, like maybe if you do a search or something, if you select those transactions, you'll get a selected total of how much total spending there is, right? Which is almost like a reporting tool in a lot of ways. Like, cause I'll run a search for something. I use this a lot when I do taxes and things like that. It's just a way to select certain things and just tally it up. That's the bottom line. So you can see here, he's selecting a few and it's just tallying it up at the bottom there. And on the web app, it's up in the top right corner. And I think it's something that a lot of times people don't notice, but it's super useful for a million different reasons.
I use it a lot for medical expenses because we are submitting reimbursement claims for our flexible spending account. And it's just to make sure all the math is correct and I got the right transactions and the right amount got refunded. I'm using selected totals a lot. And I used it a lot during tax season as well.
During my my poker accounting that I do, my bubble bath, after a poker night, that's how I know. That's like how I know I got everything right, because I know how much I won or lost, and I enter all the transactions for my friends, and I select them all, and a selected total tells me if it matches what I won or lost, then I know everything's in there correct, right? It's kind of fun.
That's one of those really small features that I find super helpful really often. And I'm like, man, this is just really nice to have.
Yeah, it's probably, it's probably something I use more than I realize I use. Like, if you ask me, I might not be able to like articulate a whole lot of times that I use it, but I probably use it even more than I realize. It's just kind of like, it's almost like table stakes. Like, it's like, yeah, this needs to happen. It's just a part of the app that just constantly use. You don't even notice.
All right, another feature that you might not be aware of is bank import details. So this is for the folks who have a linked account. And I'm thinking it's going to be especially for the newer YNABers, maybe the YNABers that have signed up in the past year and a half, because we've done a lot of work on cleaning up the information that the bank sends us when we import transactions.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they come over really, really pretty, but sometimes in that cleanup process, it strips out helpful information, or it brings through something you're like, this isn't right. I think that's rare, but it does happen.
It happens occasionally, yeah.
But now what you can do is you can go into any imported transaction. And this is for whether you have your YNAB directly connected to your bank or you're importing from a file. Let me find a transaction here. And you can tap into that, and then in the payee field, tap there, and then right there, you have the bank import details. So here's this is United Airlines, and it was a refund.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Let's go to McDonald's.
And that's super helpful because, like, you might not know, like, why am I getting this? It can help you categorize it,
Yep. So this is at McDonald's store number 3322. So for all the budget nerds out there that want to, break your McDonald's purchases down by store, gas station purchases by store, you can do that.
You can do that if you want.
The way I use it is for PayPal, Venmo transactions, because the payee is just Venmo. And I'm like, well, if there were multiple Venmo transactions, which one was for what and from whom? And so I use the bank import details to kind of give me more information there.
Yeah, it'll tell you. So yeah, it's really helpful. If you're ever like confused about a payee, just look at it. You can do that there. You can do this on web as well. All right, should we move on? Let's say, what's the next? Oh, my favorite. One of my most favorites ever. Deleting and merging categories. Okay. For a very long time, and I still feel like this is a new feature because it was such a frustration for me. You couldn't really delete a category without causing a big old mess, right? So, okay, just be clear. There's two things you can do with a category when you're kind of done with it. You can hide it, which just moves it to a special group of hidden categories. And that allows you, I think of that as kind of archiving it, like you can bring it back.
Yep.
Or you can delete it. And it used to be, if you would delete it, all of the transactions on that category would become uncategorized, and all the money that was in that category would move up to ready to assign and from previous months. And it just created a big old mess in YNAB.
Yep.
And it was a pain point for a lot of people. And so we were like, okay, this is kind of a bug. Like it's causing problems. We need to fix this. It needs to be better. So now when you delete a category, it's going to ask you, okay, where do you want to move all these transactions? And you can choose a category so all the transactions associated with it will be recategorized to that new category, right? But also all of the past assigning will also move. So like if you put $10 in that category 6 months ago, 6 months in the past, the assigned amount will move to the new category too. And it's just so elegant. So I think what we did was we set out to fix this kind of problem where it caused a big hole in your budget if you deleted a category. But what we really created was a merging feature. And I think it's just so slick because I do this all the time. Like I'll save in a more specific category. Like I'll save for like a new phone in a new phone category. And then when I buy the phone, I'll delete the category and merge it with like a more broad category, like a technology category. Or I'll save I'll put transactions in and save for like a specific vacation, like a beach vacation. And then I'll delete it and merge it with my travel category, right? And that way you can kind of keep things nice and clean, but you don't have to worry about, doing all this work to recategorize. YNAB does it for you. It's really slick.
I love this one so much because your categories, your plan, that's what you're going to every single week to make spending decisions from. It's where you go to prioritize savings. And so I think it is important that at all times, those categories are reflecting your actual life. And so I like keeping my categories tight, like keeping them clean. And if something isn't working right now, or that expense, that priority no longer exists, let's get it out of there. And I don't want it hidden. I don't want to have all these hidden categories at the bottom.
It's just clutter.
It's just clutter.
Although I will say, I see in the community, there, like a lot of old guard YNABers that have been using it for a really long time before this feature came. They still use hidden categories, and you have all these like workflows around it. So like, that's fine. You could use the hidden categories. I use it for some things. Like for me, the determination is, am I ever going to bring this category back to do something with it? Then it's good to hide it, because then you can bring it back and keep the history associated with it. But generally I just delete and merge with something more broad.
All right, hidden feature number 7, the reset bank connection button. Let me show you it first. So over here on the left, and this is new too, where you can just access your bank connections right from the account screen.
They've done a lot of work on this to just make this whole process smoother.
And again, we have this is a dummy connection, so don't pay too much attention to those details. But here's the button, reset. And this is okay, so things go wrong with these connections from time to time. Generally, they're pretty reliable for most financial institutions, but sometimes the transactions get delayed, or the connection needs to be reset in some kind of way. Like maybe the bank did something on their end and it impacted it on our end. So we have to, do some troubleshooting. Well, the best way to troubleshoot a bank connection is to remove the connection or to delete the connection and add it back in. But there's a lot with that. One, it's confusing. A lot of people would think, oh, I'm just going to unlink and relink, but that's not the same.
Yeah, you're not actually removing the connection to the bank. You're just disassociating the account with the account in YNAB.
Yeah. But the whole process of then removing it, like, I don't know, that's kind of scary for some people. You're like, what's going to happen?
Am I deleting my bank account right now?
Yeah, or all of my transactions in YNAB going to be gone when I click this?
It's scary. Yeah, it seems like a scary thing. Yeah.
So if you just run into a problem, just hit this reset button, and you can access this on mobile as well. And basically what it's going to do is remove that connection for you, re-add it, and just walk you through the credential sign-in process.
Yeah, I think this is really cool because there's a lot of features that our designers cook up, and then there's a lot of features that are really based on what support has experienced. Like this is what this is. Support created a process for removing and re-adding in a connection to help people troubleshoot direct import issues. And basically what we've done is we've created a button that's going to do that process completely without you having to go through like a step-by-step guide from support or from a help doc, and it's very slick, very helpful.
And I'm just showing the folks where to access that on mobile. There we go.
Reset. Yeah, this is like the first troubleshooting step that support's probably going to walk you through if you're having trouble. So go ahead and do it before you go to support. And then you can tell them, hey, I'm a real smart guy and I already did this thing. And they'll be like, great. Now, if it's still not working after that, we can do troubleshooting from there. So that's good. All right. Next one. Oh, this one's really hidden. I think this is a perfect example of this isn't even in plain sight. This is kind of sneaky hidden. So I'm excited to talk about this one. Big box store links. Okay. So there's a variety of retailers that are just huge. They sell everything. Amazon, perfect example. Walmart, you can walk into a Walmart and you can buy socks and bread and like grease for your car. These all go into different categories. And so it's hard to determine what you bought sometimes, right? But these stores will often have like a transaction history. So if you go in, especially if you bought it online, you can go in and you can look up, okay, here's a list of the things I bought so I know how to categorize this and split out this transaction, right? But they are super hidden. At Amazon especially, it's like 10 clicks deep to find your transaction history. And Amazon's the worst because you'll buy stuff together. Actually, Target does this too. I think they all do this. You'll buy stuff together and then they'll split it out based on how they ship it and they'll charge you separately. So you could have the most beautiful transaction that you entered and you split it 4 ways, but then Amazon sends it in chunks. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. If y'all are YNABers, you know the struggle, right? So anyways, we wanted to make a quick little way for you to access those transaction history pages. And you can do that. So anything that's like a big box store, there's a bunch of them. If you click on Payee there, Ernie will show you. And just click on the little information button. There you go. Amazon.com order history. It'll bring it up. And you can actually just find that amount and look at the list of items that you bought that makes up that amount. And then you can determine how to categorize it from there.
And this isn't just for online purchases. You can use this for in-store purchases as well. And this was a funny moment. I don't know if you saw this, Ben, but the other Ben did that YNAB with me video
recently.
And he had I think it was a Target transaction. He's like, I have no idea what this is for. It was like $4. And he's like, I'm just going to put it, wherever. And he just picked this random category. And then in the comments, someone was like, hey, why don't you use the big box, the additional order history information? And he says, hold up, it works for in-store purchases too. This is life-changing. How did I not know this? This is my job.
I missed that. Okay, nice.
So sorry to call out Ben M, but it was funny.
There's things we all don't know.
That's the thing, and that's why we're doing this episode. There are things that kind of slip through the cracks, and
yeah, if when you're checking out, there's like any kind of process where you put like a rewards thing in or something, often it'll do that. Like this happens for Kroger for me. If I put in my little Kroger card to get a discount, it'll show up online with a list of everything that I bought. So it's helpful for that too.
And I'm showing it on mobile right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Tap Payee.
And we recently added it to mobile, like within the past, 6 months.
Oh, there it is, right there. I don't need to tap Payee.
That's right. It's right there. Yeah. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people discovered it when we added it on mobile because it's a little more obvious on mobile than it is on the web app. So it was kind of fun. I feel like we had a second flood of people being excited about this feature because we added it on mobile. So there you go. Very, very helpful.
Okay, so now we're halfway through. We're on the back end of these features that are hidden in plain sight. Number 9, cover overspending from future months.
Oh, yeah. This was fun.
I don't know when this one came out, but
I think it was I want to say toward the end of last year, like October, September, something like that.
It is super cool. So for all the people out there that they're a month ahead or they're in that process of getting a month ahead, right? You have money assigned in a future month. You can now use that future money to cover overspending in the current month.
Yeah.
And I mean, because if you were to do this prior to this release, it was a whole deal, right? You'd have to flip forward to that next month, find your category, unassign it, get it back to ready to assign, go back to the current month, reassign it to that category, cover the overspending. But now it's just way less clicks. So I'm going to cover the overspending in electric and gas. I'm just going to click on the overspent amount. And then right up here, if I have money assigned in the future, YNAB gives me the option to pick which month I want to pull it from. And I love this. It's only going to be showing me the categories that have available dollars.
Oh, yeah.
So it's only 2 categories. And if I go back to cover this from March, you can see I have a lot more categories, a lot more options available.
Yeah, that's really helpful. That way you're not drawing from money that rolled over from the current month, but it hasn't really rolled over yet, but it has. It's just money that you actually assigned in future months. You can claw back to the current month.
Yeah, and I know most people that have money in the future, they're just going to leave it there because that's its purpose is for that next month. But every so often, I've done this with vacations, right? Where we will overspend on vacation. I'm like, hey, we're not going on vacation again for another year.
Right.
So the money that I've assigned to the vacation category next month, I'm just going to pull that back and I'm going to use it to cover what happened this month.
And before you would have to click into the next month, subtract it from there, move it to ready to assign, and then go back to the current month and then move it from ready to assign back to that category. It's a whole process. Now it's just a button click. So pretty cool.
Love that.
All right. Turn YNAB into a Chrome app. Okay. This is very nerdy. So,
and we talked about this in just a recent episode.
Yeah, we did mention it. Yeah, so let's show it off. So I might be wrong on this, Ernie. Maybe but I think this is it's just Chrome.
I think so,
and it's just on a Mac. I don't think you can do this on PC. But you can kind of promote YNAB. So YNAB is a web app. It's an app that's on the browser, right? Which means that you can't open it like the settings app or like an actual app on that isn't going through a web browser, right? But you can kind of fake it a little bit with this feature. This is a Chrome feature that allows you to take any web app, really any website, and kind of turn it into an app. So if you go to the 3 little dots there, and go to Cast, Save, and Share. You'll see a little option that says Install Page as App. And all this is going to do is it's going to give you the option to add it to your dock as if it's another app. Now, it's not like creating a piece of software. All it's doing is opening a Chrome window with straight to that browser, right? And it's like a more limited Chrome window, so it doesn't have all the Chrome options. So it kind of like appears like a regular app. And I did this recently with YNAB and with my bank website, actually. And it's really nice. It kind of just promotes it a little bit in my brain. Like this is an app. And something about the way Mac OS works, it's just nice to have it as a separate app, appear as a separate app, rather than having to like go through the web browser and get to it and then do that. So it's just nice. I think Mac users understand, like, it's just kind of nice to have it as a separate app.
Yeah, I really like having it as that app down there.
Yeah.
The only problem is I don't use it that often. I forget to click that. It's the muscle memory of, as soon as I open my browser, just typing in ynab.com.
Well, it's been a long time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But now I just, I click in my browser, or I use like the Spotlight search and just type YNAB and it comes right up. So it's nice. It adds a lot for sure.
Here's another one for you. And this is one of my favorite. Automatically categorize payee. So in the web app, we have this manage payees feature, and you can get really nerdy with your payees. But what I like about it, and here's the trick, is that YNAB, as it gets to know your payees, it will start automatically categorizing them for you. But that's not always helpful. So the trick is that you can uncheck that box so YNAB doesn't automatically categorize them moving forward. So I always run into this issue with big box stores.
Yeah.
The situation like with Amazon, with Costco, where you spend across multiple categories. Well, I don't want YNAB to bring up those 4 categories the next time I go to Amazon or Costco. So I just always uncheck that box. And let me just kind of show you exactly what's going on here. So let's go to Costco because we have to, right?
Of course.
The way it is right now, as soon as and this is even with when I enter manual transactions, I bring up that Costco payee and YNAB automatically pulls in the groceries category. Well, I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to go to manage payees, find that Costco, and here's the trick. I'm going to uncheck automatically categorize payee, because now when I add it or it imports, there won't be a category and I get to choose.
Yeah. That's
this
really
has
helpful.
saved me time.
Yeah, and it's funny because like it doesn't really matter, because it's you're gonna, like, if the category is wrong, it's the same number of clicks to go in and change it, right? But it's just annoying when that brings it in and it's just wrong, because it's just using the last category that you used, which for the vast majority of payees, that's super helpful. But for big box stores especially, it's just wrong. Because it could be any category, right?
Yeah.
So most often it's wrong, and you want to change that. So that's helpful. So yeah, this feature kind of pairs with the big box store links feature a little bit, and you can do that. So it's helpful. Especially what's unhelpful is when YNAB, like the last time you use that payee, you split it into multiple places, which is going to happen with big box stores.
Yep.
And then it like brings up that split again. And so it's like, okay, I got to like remove all these splits.
Yeah, that was at that point where I'm like, okay, I got to stop doing this, because I was splitting things out so many times, especially at Target or Costco, and like, enough of that.
Yeah. So just say, well, don't worry about it. I'll figure that out. It's trying to be helpful. It's like, hey, just chill on when it comes to Amazon. Just let me do it, okay? All right. Another one that's really is hidden, because it's like a operating system thing, kind of like the last one I talked about. Ask Siri for category balances, or you can ask Spotlight Search. This is iOS only, because those two features are iOS things. So this is Apple. You can, with a little bit of setup, you can ask YNAB for the category balance on any category in your plan. So you can say, hey, just turn on Siri and say, how much is available for groceries in YNAB? and it'll pop up and it'll show you right at the top how much is available for groceries right now. And I use the Spotlight search. I think I use the Spotlight search more often because it's actually a little faster so long as I have the use of my fingers, right? You can just type in groceries or Ben spending. Well, you wouldn't type in Ben spending, but I would type in Ben spending, right? And it'll bring up the available amount right there. And you just tap on it and say, and it brings up a little screen at the top and shows you what it is. So it's just a way to search for category balances without having to go into YNAB and do it. So it's just a lot faster. Pretty neat.
And we've tried doing this live in the past, I think a couple times, but you're using your phone as a camera right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever worked live. You had to do a couple takes.
Yeah. There's a little bit of setup you need to do. And if you go to a help doc, which we can link to, it'll tell you what to do. It's pretty easy, but the first time you do it, you have to do a little bit to set up the Siri thing, and then you can go from there.
Number 13. Auto distribute.
Yes.
This is where you have a split transaction and maybe you're entering in the amounts pre-tax and then you've got that leftover tax and you're like, oh man, how do I evenly, proportionately distribute this across these other categories? Instead of doing that time-wasting math yourself, now YNAB can do it for you. Actually, YNAB's been able to do this for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is one of those that people don't know about. And this is one of those, we also got a comment recently about this, and I wanted to read it because it was so good. This came up on that episode where we talked about our favorite features. My favorite feature of YNAB is pretty small, but I love it when I enter a split transaction and put in all my subtotals, then hit auto distribute, and it automatically does the math of distributing the taxes across all the categories so I don't have to.
Yeah.
Tears of joy.
It's pretty cool.
So let's split out this Amazon one right here. And now I'm going to have to do some math in my head, but we'll do dummy amounts. Transportation, sure, why not? $29.99. Maybe I bought some groceries there for $134. Oops.
Don't you guys just love watching Ernie YNAB? It's so great.
Is it soothing?
It's soothing. Yeah.
We'll do one more split here. Coffee.
There you go.
So maybe that was $19.89.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got $525. I'm just going to hit approve. The total is $189.89. How do you want to handle the unassigned $525? Yes, auto distribute that. Boom.
And just proportionally distributed it across based on the amounts that you put in. Just pretty slick.
So this is like, so there are the nerds out there, like the hardcore nerds where like, I don't want any tax ending up in my groceries. Well, actually, it wouldn't work for that situation because you can't choose which categories
get the split.
Yeah, so I guess maybe this isn't for the hardcore budget nerds. Maybe it's the step below, right? Where like
the layers of nerds.
Right, there are layers.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it's the step below where like you're really not. You don't care that much about the precision of the tax. You're just get it close enough for me without me having to do anything. That's the camp that I fall in.
Mm-hmm.
I use auto distribute regularly. I love it.
Yeah, I would do this sometimes where I want the tax to be accurate, and so like I would type in. I think the sales tax in Virginia is 4.5 cents per dollar. So I would type in the amount, and then I type in times 1.05 next to it. Right? That's super nerdy.
Yeah.
Right. So you could do that, but you could also just do the auto distribute. But it's not just for taxes. Somebody pointed this out to me recently, and I've been doing it a lot, where like, say you have two categories and you want to split it evenly between the two. You don't have to you don't have to do any math or type in the full amount. Just put in 1 cent and put in 1 cent for each category, auto distribute, and it'll split it in half.
I don't even think you need to put in 1 cent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why would you? Yeah.
Right. So we're just going to do $50.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, because you put in 0 and the other one's 0, and it's proportionally, you're going to split it.
save, auto distribute.
It puts it into,
Boom.
yeah. Or you could do proportions. Like you say, okay, I want 2/3 to go to this category and 1/3 to go to this category. Put in like 2 cents for one and 1 cent for the other, and it'll proportion it to 2 to 1, you know? Yeah, try it. See, there you go. Isn't that slick? Isn't that cool? So all it's doing is ratio math here. And so you can put in any ratio you want. With a little bit of brain. This just takes a little bit of brain knowledge to know, like, okay, if I want it to be 2/3, I want to put 2 and a 1. You know, it's 1 to 3. You know, is the ratio there. So, but it'll put it out. It'll do the math for you.
And here's one of those things where, like, why would you ever do it like that? That's dumb. It takes so much extra thought and time. But like, the budget nerds get it. That is just fun. Like,
it's fun.
I love doing weird stuff like that every so often.
I'm so glad you told me. Of course, you don't have to put anything in if you want to split it in half or split it evenly. Like you could have 5 splits and just don't put anything in. If you want to split it evenly, it'll just auto distribute all evenly. So oh man, that's gonna save me even more time. Love it. Next, let's talk about snoozing targets. I think most budget nerds probably know about this, but if you don't know, you need to know. So if you move money from a category to another category and you have a target on that category, it's going to turn yellow, right? And it's just annoying having these little yellow categories hanging out in YNAB. Or maybe you have a target on a category, but you didn't fund it this month. And now you have to look at this yellow forever. And yellow isn't necessarily bad. It's just YNAB saying, hey, this category needs more money. And if you know why it needs more money, that's okay. You can let it go. But you don't have to let it go now. Now you can snooze the target. So if you click on it, there you go. Ernie showed you right now. You can set that little snooze option, and it just puts a little. I love it. I feel like I'm just like, just go take a nap. Like, go to sleep. It's like a little toddler. Like, go to sleep. Stop bothering me. It's just, you know what I mean? So you can just tell YNAB, like, hey, don't bother me with this. I know why it's yellow, and I want it that way. Go to sleep. You know, and you put it there.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, it doesn't really matter, but it really, really does matter. Yeah. I mean, I say this in workshops all the time because people are asking about the yellow. And I'm like, doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Like, it's no big deal. But they're like, it drives me nuts. Like, I don't want to see and I get it.
It's like having an itch you can't scratch. Like, something's wrong, but you know it's not really wrong. But like, your body's telling you something's wrong. You know what I mean?
Well,
so you got to deal with it.
And just practically speaking, too, you know, if you make a shift in your plan early in the month, by the time you get to the end, there's a chance you forgot why you made that shift or that you made a shift. And so you're looking at this category, you're like, why is this underfunded? What happened here? Just snooze it early on and you don't have to think about it again because you know you changed your plan.
Yeah, this is just like a quality of life thing because for so many years, I would tell people, like, don't worry about the yellow. If you know why it's yellow, just ignore it. But like in my head, I'm like, I know it's really annoying. Like, I know it's really, you really hate to ignore it, you know? Yeah. And now we finally scratched that itch. It's just a quality of life feature. You can snooze it so you don't have to worry about it.
All right, number 15. Ben, you taught me this one a number of episodes ago. Edit memos in bulk.
Oh yeah. This was a quiet release. We didn't really talk about it because it's pretty niche, you know? But if you know, you know, right?
So I'm selecting these 3 categories: more, memo, Doyle rule.
Doyle, I don't know what that is, but I'll let you have it.
That's a Billy Madison reference.
Oh man,
I grew up in the 90s. Adam Sandler was like everything.
For like 2 years, I've been like, I need to watch Billy Madison again because I haven't even watched the second one that came out. Anyway.
Yeah, I was when I was going through pre-show, like what my demos were going to be, Doyle rules popped in my head. I'm like, I got to use that. Like that makes me smile. But yeah, I love the edit in bulk because, and I mentioned this when you told me about this feature, I use memos a lot on vacation.
Yeah, me too.
And I like having them standardized. So the exact phrase and the exact capitalization. So now instead of like going category or transaction by transaction. I can just wait till the trip's done and then do them all in bulk and save some time.
And this pairs with the deleting and merging feature as well for me, because I'll do that. Yeah, vacation's the most common use case for me, because I'll have one category for this particular vacation, and then at the end I'll select all the transactions in that vacation, do the bulk memo. So I usually use like a little hashtag, like hashtag 2026 Outer Banks or something like that, or wherever we went, and just do the full thing. And then I delete it and merge it with my travel category. So that way, if I ever want to know how much should I spend on last time I went to the Outer Banks, I can look it up by doing that selected total. So there you go. You got it. It's all connected. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Love it.
All right, last one. This is also a new one, newish at least. Who moved the money? This is on the web app. So if you use YNAB together, you can now see who moved money. So this is in the recent moves option, and also this is kind of another hidden feature that a lot of people might not know about. Anytime you move money between categories, or you move money from ready to assign to assign it to a category, YNAB keeps a record of that, and it's just a rolling record, and you can always look and see, right? Which is really helpful. But it never told you who moved the money if you have multiple people in your plan. And now you can actually sort by it. You can look and you can see, and it'll also give a little avatar, little circle with their initials basically in it to tell you who moved it. So now you can't hide anything from your spouse. They'll know if you moved the money and who did it. Right?
Yeah, I wonder, like, budget nerds, I've always had a sense that like there's one primary YNABber in the relationship, and it's almost like, hey, don't touch my YNAB, don't touch our YNAB, like I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking back to the early days of YNAB where Christy would just to mess with me, she would like
I love it.
Take out my fun money and move it to hers.
That's really funny.
And now I can catch her in the act, but
right.
she doesn't do that anymore. So
she knew how into it you were, and she had to tease you a little bit.
Exactly.
It's like, this is gonna break his brain. That's so funny. Yeah. So like, if you're ever talking about something with a partner or whoever you're sharing your plan with, and you're like, hey, like this money moved, like what was the reason? It just adds a little accountability, and also just helps you figure out what was going on if you ever need to do some sleuthing, so that's helpful.
Okay, Ben, that is our 16 hidden features in plain sight, and we had like a massive list to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
So I am guaranteeing that we left out, listeners, your favorite little feature. Yeah. So please share it with us. Put a comment in the YouTube video or send us an email at budgetnerds@ynab.com, because we want to hear from you.
All right. Well, let's do some YNAB wins.
Let's do it.
How you wanna make it.
My win comes from Patrick. Patrick emailed in. I'm an early career physician in the U.S. In residency training, we work long hours with modest pay, and many residents live paycheck to paycheck. In February 2023, while going through residency without a budget, my wife and I found ourselves with too little cash to pay an unexpected tax bill in April. We made a change and committed to giving every dollar a job with YNAB. Over the next 6 months, we made a temporary, intensive but difficult cutback on our spending. We were not only able to pay the tax bill on time, but built up over $4,000 cash in savings. One of my biggest motivators for committing to YNAB was knowing that I could anticipate a significant income increase after finishing training, and that we needed to have a responsible personal finance system in place before then to set us on the right track for the future. I finished my training last year at age 32. Congratulations.
Congrats.
After many years of hard work, I'm very fortunate to have an income that more than meets our needs. Thanks to planning with YNAB, we have made the most of this by spending intentionally, saving prudently. From our start in February 2023 through April 2025, YNAB puts our change in net worth at plus 10,399.1%.
Very precise, as they do.
Yeah, that's a huge number, and it's very precise. I love it. Thank you to YNAB for being such an amazing resource, and to the both of you for helping me improve my thinking about personal finance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I love that you shared that. And that's such a cool win. We hear this all the time from the high income folks, or actually not from the high income folks, but from the people who just think, more income is going to solve my problem. But if you don't have the habits in place, if you don't have a system to manage that higher income, there's not going to be any change in a person's life. And so they did the hard work of before that income actually started showing up. They figured out their system, their priorities, and now everything's humming along smoothly.
Yeah, it's such a big deal, Patrick, that you found YNAB and got a handle on this before your income increased, because sky's the limit now. It's so cool. All right, I have one from, I'm not going to try to say this username, but they wrote in on the 19 tips episode. They said, the payoff simulator helped me tricking my husband into using a huge windfall nearly completely to pay off the car. We already were down to 50% of the original amount and discussed what to do with a gift. I listened to his suggestions, then pulled out my computer and showed him the simulator with the virtual payment done. Just look at this possibility. He couldn't resist the power of a good graph. Love it. And the prospect of me not saying we could pay extra on the car in every single budget meeting. And now we are debt-free except for the mortgage. This car is also the reason why we came back to YNAB after not budgeting for quite some time. We had to buy a new car we couldn't afford, got a 90-month loan, paid it off in 18. I guess this counts as a YNAB win. It definitely does. Yes.
Heck yeah.
I love that. Sometimes you just need the visual and you just need the numbers, and it can convince you like, yeah, this is actually a good move. So it's cool that you can see that.
Yeah, we're using the payoff simulator right now to pay off a car loan, hopefully faster. And it is super motivating to actually see, okay, if we do this amount, here's how much time we're going to save. Here's how much interest we're going to save.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Love it.
Big deal. All right. Well, if you have a YNAB win, you can put it in the comments below, or if you're listening, or if you want to just email us, you can email us at budgetnerds@ynab.com. And we always love hearing from you.
All right, friends, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And until then, happy YNABing.
Happy YNABing.